Good morning. I'm Pauline Verzosa. It is Friday, the 24th of April, and we're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. And now first on the agenda, amid the impeachment proceedings, Vice President Sara Duterte turned the tables on her accusers and openly accused President Bongbong Marcos of backing the attacks against her. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos has that report.
Vice President Sara Duterte has responded to allegations that she had or has billions of pesos worth of transactions in her bank accounts. In the third hearing on her impeachment case by the House Justice Committee on Wednesday, the Anti-Money Laundering Council presented collated data from the accounts of the VP and her husband Manasseh Carpio showing 6.7 billion pesos worth of transactions. These are the sum total of transactions in both accounts made from 2006 to 2025. In a lengthy statement on Thursday, Sara did not directly refute the data, but instead decried it as politically motivated. She particularly took a swipe at former Senator Sara Trillanes, who also testified on the Duterte family's alleged hidden, ill-gotten wealth. VP Duterte blasted Trillanes for peddling what she called the same incredible story for nearly a decade. The only thing that changed, according to Duterte, is Trillanes' backing. For her, now at play is a machinery involving President Bongbong Marcos and members of the lower house that have received maletas, now the common term for payoffs. Sara said, quote, "Ang mga totoong magnanakaw, hindi sa bangko pinapasok ang pera, kundi sa maleta." And amid all the accusations against her, Duterte said her service record is clean. Duterte also claimed that she never faced malversation cases. The Vice President added that all her assets and monies are listed in her SALN or Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, and that every cent of it came from legitimate sources and are backed by corresponding documents. VP Sara's lawyers also had this response to conclusions made by Justice Committee members on her financial data.
Yung salitang hindi nagtutugma is a conclusion in itself. No? Yan yung posisyon namin. Para po sa amin, actually, wala naman pong hindi nagtutugma. Perhaps it's just the way that things were presented. Marami ring nagulat. Totoo naman po yun. No? Kahit naman sino siguro magagulat kung ganun yung amounts. But again, doon po kami nanggagaling sa how is an AMLAC report presented. Diba? It is the aggregate of all, ang tawag nga nila ay inflows and outflows. So, lahat ng deposit, lahat ng withdrawal, ina-add nilang lahat yon. At least yun yung posisyon namin, at pananaw namin, o pagkakaintindi namin sa reports ng AMLAC. No? Na ina-add lang nila lahat yun over a span of 18 years. So, it doesn't give us a clear picture kung magkano ba talaga yung pera na nasa bangko.
While many are hoping the VP would somehow shed light on the billions that passed through her accounts, Attorney Powa said she will at the proper forum, perhaps at the Senate, if the impeachment case reaches there. Team Sara is confident of an acquittal once a full-blown trial at an impeachment court happens.
Hintayin nila kami. No? Hintayin nila na kami naman ang magpresenta ng aming ebidensya para pabulaanan lahat ng mga lumalabas ngayon laban sa ating Vice Presidente. Well, the defense team is not here to lose, hindi ba? So, binuo kami, we only have one target. It's not just to win, but actually to show the general public and the people of the Philippines na walang katiwalian, na walang katotohanan sa mga ikangay katiwalian na binabato sa ating Vice Presidente.
Kapatid Arles de los Santos, we are One News.
Members of the House Justice Committee believe the evidence presented during clarificatory hearings have met and may have even exceeded the threshold of probable cause to impeach Vice President Sara Duterte. More details in this report.
The camp of Vice President Sara Duterte is confident she will be acquitted once the impeachment case reaches the Senate. But the House Justice Committee believes otherwise. Panel member and Bicol Saro Party List Representative Terry Ridon said the evidence presented so far is already solid.
Yung 1.5 billion na pumasok doon po sa kanya pong account over the course of several years. Lahat po ito ay mabibigat na batayan na po dahil sobrang layo po nito doon sa 88 million net worth ng ating pong pangalawang Pangulo for 2024. So, doon pa lang po, mabigat na batay na po para ho ma-establish yung probable cause over unexplained wealth, over silent violations, no? Giving rise to a betrayal of public trust.
For Justice Committee Chair Jervy Luistro, the evidence against the Vice President exceeded the required standard to establish probable cause for impeachment.
I think nasatisfy na ang threshold ng probable cause. In my personal capacity, not as Justice Chair, after all, I do not vote. Tingin ko, baka nga nalampasan pa with the weight of evidence that were presented in yesterday's hearing.
Akbayan Party List Congressman Chel Jokno agrees, saying the findings presented during Wednesday's hearing are a smoking gun, at least in terms of probable cause. Lawmakers say even without the testimony of self-proclaimed Duterte bagman Ramil Madriaga, there is still enough basis to send the Vice President to trial. The material presented includes alleged unexplained wealth, as well as commission and audit findings that confidential funds of her office were spent improperly. In the next and possibly final hearing of the House Justice Committee on April 29, the focus will be Duterte's alleged threat against the First Family. But another question from Wednesday's hearing remains whether the committee will open the box containing the tax records of VP Duterte and her husband, Attorney Man Scarpio. The Bureau of Internal Revenue said the documents may be disclosed in aid of legislation, but only during an executive session. Luistro says there may be a way forward.
Perhaps I will suggest that the box be transmitted to the Senate as is, the way it was received by the Justice Committee, which is the box is sealed. So it will depend on the senators whether or not they will open the same.
Former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV has raised questions over alleged recurring multi-million peso payments reportedly made by businessman Sammy Uy to the Duterte family. In an interview with Storycon, Trillanes said Uy allegedly sent 40 million to 50 million pesos every 6 months between 2011 and 2013. He said the consistency and scale of the reported transfers appeared unusual for standard business dividend distributions. Trillanes added that the timing of the alleged transactions showed a consistent pattern over several years, which he said warranted closer scrutiny. He also claimed the movements were consistent with previously flagged transactions involving accounts that had been reviewed by the Anti-Money Laundering Council. Now, the former senator further alleged that the Dutertes misled the public by presenting themselves as anti-drug crusaders while allegedly running a drug cartel.
Ito po kasi ang setup nila. Si Sammy Uy, Michael Yang at Charlie Tan, sila yung triumvirate, yung Davao Cartel. So, ang kapartner nila, si Digong, na siya rin ang nagpo-protect sa kanila. So, siya rin ang kumaga muscle. Siya yung pumapatay ng mga kompetensya nitong cartel nila Digong. Tapos, nung naging presidente na si Digong, na-elevate na rin sila. Yung stature nila, buong Pilipinas na ngayon. At hindi na sila lang sa droga. Kasi nga, nakita nila yung lucrative business ng Pogo, nung COVID, yung Farmally, kaya nag-diversify sila. So yan na ngayon ang sinakop nila na iba't ibang pwedeng pagkakitaan while Duterte was president. At ito si Michael Yang, Colonel Asierto, na siya yung deputy head ng PNP Drug Enforcement Group, na meron siyang report na drug lord ito. So yun, 'di ba? Ngayon, ang sinasabi ni Las Cañas ay na-corroborate na dito ng iba't ibang sources. Ngayon, sabi ko nga, they will have to vouch for Sammy Uy. Tanungin nila saan yung galing yung pera na yon, 'di ba? At titignan natin yung tax history niya. Ano ba? Kung mag-yield ka ng 40 to 50 million pesos na dividendo, kailangan malaki yung revenue niyang negosyo na yan, whatever that is, dapat nagbabayad ka ng corresponding tax diyan. So mamimilipit sila dyan pagka sinubject sa microscope itong mga ito. Alam niyo ho kasi karamihan ng mga mga Pilipino or observers, binibigyan sila ng benefit of the doubt. Despite everything, bakit nyo pa rin bibigyan ng benefit of the doubt? Eto na eh. Marami ng ebidensyang lumalabas. At ito na nga, yung motivation of the accusers, the evidence are there if only bubuksan natin yung ating mga mata at tatanggapin natin itong realidad na ito na naisahan ang taong bayan na itong nagpapanggap na anti-drug crusader na presidente has been pretending all along na yung pala siya ang mismong nagpapatakbo ng sarili niyang drug cartel.
Well, don't go away. We will be back with more stories after this break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning and welcome back. I'm Pauline Verzosa. And here at Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and we give you the context behind the headlines. Vice President Sara Duterte has denied allegations of billion-peso bank transactions raised during her impeachment hearings. Data from the Anti-Money Laundering Council, or AMLAC, showed a total of 6.7 billion pesos in transactions across accounts linked to the vice president and her husband, Man Scarpio, for over nearly 2 decades. Duterte did not directly dispute the figures, but called the issue politically motivated, accusing Bongbong Marcos and former Senator Sonny Trillanes of orchestrating attacks against her. Now, she maintained that all her assets are declared in her SALN and come from legitimate sources. Her legal team, led by attorney Michael Poa, argued that the figures were misinterpreted and said the vice president will respond fully at the proper forum. The defense also expressed confidence that Duterte will be acquitted should the case proceed to a Senate trial. And joining us this morning is political analyst Arjan Aguirre to help us break down the latest developments in the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. Good morning, Professor Arjan, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Hello, good morning.
All right, so first of all, Professor, what stood out to you in the bombshell revelations that were presented in the House Committee on Justice hearing last Wednesday on the allegation of unexplained wealth?
First, I would like to, mention that the evidence, documentary evidence really stood out. And I think compared to the previous hearing, the participation of the Ombudsman as well as the AMLAC, really, gave us a clearer view of what really happened as regards the funds that were, not explained by the Vice President. And of course, do not forget that we also have the presence of former Senator Trillanes. So I think his presence there and his statement allowed us to really be reminded of what he has already been saying in these past years regarding the questionable bank accounts of the Duterte family.
Right, because in the first hearing on the alleged misuse of confidential funds, it really relied on the testimony as well of Ramil Madriaga, but this time it focuses on actual financial records and 6.7 billion pesos. That's the total value of suspicious transactions flagged by AMLAC, Professor. Now, that includes both inflows and outflows, right? But even with that context, there's a significant gap with her SALN. So what do these transactions tell you?
Well, it only shows to us that, there were transactions made involving huge amounts of money, and they were not, declared in her SALN. So I think that's the main issue that she has to, explain should this, impeachment trial become possible in the coming weeks or months. So again, she has to explain what happened there, because I think that's the main issue here. She did not declare those amounts, and it's good that we have this mechanism that can flag those huge amounts that are flowing in and out. So this is something that it is hard to deny, or hard to dispute, since we have this, evidence, this documentary evidence, and this is, something that is so difficult to reinterpret. So I think that's the main point that that I would like to highlight regarding this revelation coming from the documents from AMLAC, from of course Ombudsman.
And when they cross-checked the findings of former Senator Antonio Trillanes, they actually all matched, right, Professor? 18 out of the 18 random transactions that was picked by Representative Laila de Lima, they were all confirmed by AMLAC and they all checked out. I mean, how much weight does that add to this allegation?
Well, first of all, I would like to mention that Senator Trillanes was vindicated because of this participation or involvement of the AMLAC documents, and of course with the SAL and from the Ombudsman. So I mean, he has been very vocal about this existence of questionable bank accounts of the Duterte family, and now that we have these documents, this really proves that there are bank accounts that are under the name of former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, his daughter, as well as other family members. And it's just that we have to wait for the full-blown trial that will happen in the Senate for us to really verify if there are other information that could really help us get to the bottom of the truth of this.
Personally, Professor, were you surprised by the magnitude of the money involved here? Because for years, the Dutertes were painting themselves as individuals, politicians who lived a simple life. They also, of course, have that anti-drug campaign. But as former Senator Antonio Trillanes pointed out, some of these funds came from Sammy Uy, who is also an alleged drug lord.
Honestly, I'm not really surprised because, again, these accusations have been there for years. And the fact that they were very silent about this, they were ignoring this. They even, went to the point of attacking Senator Trillanes himself, going ad hominem, just to, avoid, being under scrutiny regarding their bank account. So again, that's an indication that there's something questionable about their ownership of these bank accounts. And now that we have these AMLAC documents, SAL and that SAL and documents that are currently publicized or released, because don't forget also that the previous ombudsman is considered to be an ally of the Duterte. So now that we have a new ombudsman, these institutions are now cooperating or working together for us to help, really know the truth about, what has been happening in the past years.
Well, obviously, the burden is now on the Vice President and her legal team to dispel all these allegations. But are you seeing any possible remote justification, explanation for all these allegations, Professor? Yesterday, Attorney Michael Poa said that the flag transactions in the AMLAC report do not equate any wrongdoing or unlawful activity of the Vice President, and they're ready to address that in the proper forum. But what's your take so far on the defense's arguments?
Well, it's very obvious that is their legal, strategy or tactic. They know that they have allies in the Senate. That's why they're very, much looking forward to what will happen in the Senate. They can afford to ignore, as well as delegitimize the proceedings in the House, because they know that they do not have enough allies there. So to me, it is a miscalculation on their part, to the point that their absence in the House only gives so much legitimacy to the very proceedings. Now that we have these documents, again, documents, not just statements from people who are known to be Duterte allies. This is a missed opportunity, especially for her legal team to really counter their claims. So imagine, we have been doing this for days, and this has been the headlines in our news outlets. So this will affect the very perception of the people for sure.
And how significant is the Vice President's strategy of framing all these impeachment proceedings as mere political attacks by no less than the President himself, calling this essentially a trial by publicity?
sorry, but this has limits. I mean, perhaps in the previous months, it may have worked. Painting themselves as the victims of this persecution that's being done by the Marcos government. But the fact that these institutional proceedings have been reactivated. Remember, this is her second impeachment case. So if the first one they were able to survive this, the second one, the lawmakers, the main stakeholders really tried their best to do this according to the law. Remember, we also have this recent Supreme Court decision, telling us what to do, what to expect, giving us the steps that must be taken for this impeachment proceeding to be, legal or constitutional. So all of these things were, done carefully by the stakeholders. And if the response of the vice president is still the same, saying the same line that this is just political, again, to me, it has limits. The people, they know what's happening, and they will notice that this institutional proceedings are being done according to the law. This is a calibrated response from our democratic institutions.
And you did mention earlier, Professor, that the impeachment proceedings could affect public opinion on the vice president. But in that recent survey of Okta Research, she actually still enjoys majority trust. She has a 55% trust rating. But do you see that changing as the hearings continue?
Again, the changes when it comes to the perception of the general public do not, change overnight. Usually, I mean the ups and downs, the shifts usually happen, weeks or months. Especially now that we are seeing so many political issues that are happening, their saliency. To me, it will take us weeks or months for people to really absorb the information that would, perhaps influence their perception of the political, figures in our society. So, for example, for the vice president, imagine if all the news outlets, even in the social media, are talking about the same topic of the impeachment, and they are talking about the same, developments. I'm very sure that the general public will have an idea of what's going on, and this will affect, of course, their perception in the coming months.
Well, the next hearing is set on April 29, and the focus will be on the allegation of grave threats this time. What are your expectations there, Professor, and how significant is that to the overall impeachment case?
So again, I'm very happy that some of our lawmakers really tried their best to be objective in asking sensible questions during the previous hearing. So for this upcoming hearing, we are also expecting that the NBI will give us documents. Again, I'm relying on documents because these documents are something that you cannot just reinterpret or subject to subjudgment of your perception. So again, that will be something to look forward to, the documents that will be presented by the NBI, and the questions that will be raised by our lawmakers, especially in the Committee on Justice.
Well, there are talks that as early as now, there are already 152 votes in favor of the impeachment in the lower house, and that's already more than the 1/3 required. So do you think, Professor, that this will easily hurdle the House of Representatives based on the current political landscape?
Yes. I think this discussion of the impeachment proceedings that are being done in the House, they of course they have already influenced the very perceptions of our lawmakers, and it's just that they're waiting for the final outcome of the committee hearings. I think what we should be looking forward to is what will happen in the Senate, because I think that is where the legal team of VP Sara, even the political bloc of the Dutertes, they think that they have so much presence there. Their allies would be there to help them or to support their cause. So again, in the Senate, I'm expecting that they have enough votes to dismiss the vice president. But again, because of these developments, I'm also sensing that some of our senators will be influenced by what's going on as regards the trajectory of the discussions in the committee hearing, as well as what will happen in the voting at the plenary in the House.
I'm curious, Professor, how do you think the current balance of power in the Senate will play out? I mean, there's a new Senate president at the helm in Senator Tito Soto. Do you expect a different approach to how the impeachment case will be handled compared to the 19th Congress under former SP Cheese Escudero?
So yeah, actually, this is something that we should expect on the part of the current Senate President. Tito Soto, has been very vocal that he will, try his best to follow the Constitution as regards, activating the impeachment trial as soon as they receive the complaints from their counterpart in the House. Now, what I am looking at actually are the other colleagues, because as it stands, again, the Duterte bloc has currently 9 or 10 with them, and even though some of the colleagues in the majority are considered to be part of the voting bloc of the majority, we can expect also that some of these people will try to side with the minority. So I'm actually expecting 12 or 11 senators who will dismiss this case. That's why, to me, the discussions in the House will be crucial in influencing also the perception of these senators. And so far, we are seeing positive developments as regards the documents, as well as new information coming from various institutions. So I'm very sure that in the coming weeks, some of our senators will be rethinking about their perception of the current issues regarding the impeachment of the vice president.
And the decisions of the senator judges here will be very consequential because the public will also be watching very closely. Last year, Professor, you described the impeachment process against the vice president as having been reduced to a political theater ahead of 2028. Do you still share that view to this day?
Yes, actually, this is something that we cannot, separate from the impeachment trial. This is a political cycle, do not forget, and it will overlap with the approaching or the upcoming presidential elections. And some of these senators, we should not forget, are re-electionists. Okay, re-electionists. Some of them, in fact, many of them are in the minority. So we are really expecting that these senators will also try to court the Duterte supporters. They want to appear, to be supportive of the Duterte cause. So that's why it will be very, very crucial for other stakeholders to step in and try to manage the discussion or the narrative that will be emerging in the coming months. Again, as we try to understand also how these political actors will be playing their roles as we transition from the House impeachment toward the impeachment trial itself. So again, this is a long process that will overlap with the upcoming presidential elections. So some of them, again, will try to use the impeachment as their way to secure support, secure votes. Others, on the other hand, will also use this to weaken the chances of other presidential candidates who will run in the 2028 presidential elections.
Well, just as a final question, Professor, we have the camp of the vice president saying they are confident that she will be acquitted if this reaches the Senate. But if the tables turn, do you see the vice president considering resignation as a way to avoid the consequences of impeachment?
Actually, I have already entertained that idea that in case she won't have the number, she will resign. But again, that won't solve the problem, or that won't really give her the chance also to redeem herself in the future. It will in fact only you make things worse in the sense that this can also be used against her. This can be treated or interpreted as a sign of of guilt on her part, evading accountability. If she really doesn't have any problems or any wrongdoings on her part, I mean, to me, if I were her advisor, I mean, she should have face these criticisms or claims, and she should participate in the impeachment proceedings. That could be her way also of engaging her supporters, influencing other people. So to me, again, this is also a missed opportunity on her part.
All right. Well, definitely a lot to look forward to in the coming weeks. But for now, thank you very much for sharing all your insights with us. That was political analyst Arjan Aguirre. And in other news, former President Rodrigo Duterte will go on trial at the International Criminal Court after its pre-trial chamber confirmed all charges against him. The court found substantial grounds to believe Duterte is criminally responsible for 3 counts of crimes against humanity, including murder and covering dozens of killings. The decision was unanimous and is not automatically appealable, meaning the defense must first seek permission before challenging it. The ICC will now form a trial chamber and set pre-trial proceedings, with a trial expected to begin within 6 months to 1.5 years. Under ICC rules, Duterte will be required to appear in court, either in person or through remote means, subject to the court's approval. ICC-accredited lawyer or assistant to counsel Cristina Conti dismissed criticism from Imee Marcos following the International Criminal Court's decision to confirm the charges against former President Rodrigo Duterte. Senator Marcos questioned the fairness of the ICC, warning that actions seen as bypassing constitutional safeguards could undermine public trust and the rule of law. But in an interview with 1PHS sa Totoo Lang, Conti said she is not concerned by Marcos's remarks, adding she views the senator more as a politician than a legal expert. Conti also said she expected Marcos to defend the Dutertes.
At fairness ng international justice. Ano po ang inyong reaksyon dito?
Ako, mag-worry ako if it was a law practitioner or international expert who is raising serious concern. Pero since it's Imee Marcos, I'm not too worried with her statements. She is more of a politician than a lawyer at this point, and I have expected this. Her lobbying for the Dutertes, whatever, come what may. Kaya, okay, thanks, bye.
Now do stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Department of Social Welfare and Development says up to 2.7 billion pesos in funds could have been at risk if the 5,000 peso cash assistance for the transport sector had been released through digital platforms or e-wallets. The DSWD reported that around 385,000 entries were found to have duplicate names, while other records lack key identifying details, including birth dates and other personal information. Secretary Rex Gatchalian said the use of physical payout centers allowed the agency to verify beneficiaries one by one and prevent errors in distribution. He also added that digital transfers remain an option for future payout cycles once the beneficiary list has been fully cleaned and validated. And now let's get a reaction from Manibela Chairman Mar Valbuena. Good morning, Mar, at welcome back po sa programa.
Good morning po, Ma'am Pauline.
Okay, unang-una, Mar, ano po ba ang reaksyon ninyo dito sa plano ng DSWD na gumamit ng e-wallets para sa pamamahagi po ng cash assistance basta raw po may validated list ng mga benepisyaryo?
Dapat po matagal nang ginawa ito, Ma'am Pauline. O yung sinasabi pa natin dati na dapat yung card na lang ang gamitin para mas madali po itong makuha. Ganun pa man, babalikan ko lang yung sinasabi ni DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian na yung mga listahan na sinabmit sa kanila ay basura daw. Alam nyo, ang basura po dyan yung ugali at pamamaraan nitong mga social welfare po na nag-a-assist doon sa pamimigay ng ayuda. Kaya po tumatagal yung pagdi-distribute nitong ayuda dahil nga po mas makulit pa yung mga empleyado ng DSWD kaysa po doon sa mga nakapila na benepisyaryo po nito.
So para sa inyo, Sir Kamar, compliant naman po ang ating mga transport workers dun sa requirements kasi ang sinasabi po ng DSWD maraming kaso ng duplicate names, kakulangan sa mga detalye, birthday, pati mga personal information.
Alam mo, Ma'am Pauline, no? Birthday ng tao ito. Sino ba magsasabi na paano malalaman ng taga-DSWD na mali yung birthday ng isang tao? Sino makakapagsabi na mali? Nakalagay naman doon sa kanyang driver's license kung ano yung tama. So sana yun na lang yung pinagbabasihan natin. At yung magulang nung mga benepisyaryo na to nagpangalan, paano masasabi ng DSWD na mali? Ang nagsulat nito yung mismong magki-claim. Kaya pabalik-balik 4 na beses na bumalik yung ating mga kasamahan. Yung iba dito namatay, nakaburol hanggang ngayon yung aming kasama dahil nga po sa pagpila, napakainit, pag-uwi sa bahay, stress. Kaya po palpak yung pamimigay po nila ng ayuda. Ginagawa po siguro mas maraming pila, mas maraming mukhang kawawa, mas marami ang mukhang matutulungan, mas sikat yung mamimigay po nito.
Pero kung sakaling matuloy nga po itong plano ng DSWD na mag-shift sa e-wallet, handa po ba talaga tayo na lumipat sa digital system, Kamar? O may mga tsuper pa rin ho na walang access sa mga e-wallets at posibleng mapag-iwanan sa ganitong sistema?
Opo, Ma'am Pauline, no? Kasi yung mga ibang drivers, lalo na yung mga senior na, wala naman pong cellphone. Kaya po mahirap. Siguro doon sa mga may cellphone at kaya po na i-access ito, ay pwede po. Pero yung mga sinasabi nga natin, nagawa nga ng LTFRB na magkaroon po ng subsidy card, baka po pwede na card na lang yung ibigay. O kung alam niyo po, ito po yung isa po sana sa pinakamaganda. Kung meron po sana lahat ang mga drivers ng national ID na sinasabi natin, bakit hindi na lang doon idaan? Kung yan pong national ID na yan ay naibigay na at ginagamit na sana ng mga driver o ng mga Pilipino, mas madali po sana ang pag-identify kasi nandun po lahat ng tamang impormasyon. Bakit hindi po yun ang gamitin, itong national ID natin? At kung walang national ID, nasaan na yung pondo na ginamit, na gagamitin para sa papagawa at pag-distribute nitong mga national ID na to? Andun po yung mga tamang impormasyon na hindi na kailangan pa ng e-wallet, hindi na kailangan pa ng ibang mga fuel subsidy card o ng ayuda card. Nandun na po lahat ng detalye. Yung margin of error po nitong national ID card, baka nasa 2% lang at mas kapaki-pakinabang na hindi na po mahihirapan yung ating mga social welfare workers po.
At Kamar, sa usapin naman po ng fuel prices, sinabi niyo po na kulang pa rin ang rollback sa presyo ng krudo kahit nagkaroon na nga po tayo ng pagbaba nitong mga nakaraang linggo. Paano niyo po nakuha, Kamar, itong estimate niyo na dapat na sa 75 pesos per liter na lang ang diesel?
Nagbabase po kami doon sa last day ng trading, Ma'am Pauline, o yung average ng trading ng buong linggo sa stock market na kung saan ay last week na umabot o pumalo, bumaba ito sa $83 per barrel. O i-assume na lang natin na $90 per barrel. Bago nung pre-war era, nasa $72 lang ang presyo nito. So kung $90, assuming na $18 po ang ibinaba po nito. So kung i-compute po natin ito, Ma'am Pauline, sa 125, i-divide po natin, pumapalo na lamang po ito sa 75 pesos dapat ang presyo ng petrolyo. Ngayon, kung matatapos ang trading day ngayon at mas mababa pa yung average ngayong week, mas malaki dapat yung ibabawas sa susunod na linggo o baka mas mababa pa talaga bago yung pre-war era. At isa pa na na-observe namin, Ma'am Pauline, kahit nasabihin pa ng gobyerno na na 20 pesos ang ibababa nito. Yung ibang gasolinahan, 5 to 10 pesos lang ang ibinababa. Hindi na monitor ng Department of Energy. So sino dapat ang mag-monitor po nito at atasan ng ahensya na mag-monitor dito sa mga gasolinahan na ayaw magbaba at nasarapan na sa kita at tubo na dapat po ay ibinababa na nila ito.
Kaya po patuloy pa rin po kayong nananawagan na i-scrap po itong oil deregulation law. Ano po ba yung nakikita niyong direktang epekto nito kung sakaling matanggal po iyon?
Pinaburan lamang ang mga oil companies nitong oil deregulation law at hindi po ito kapaki-pakinabang sa mamamayang Pilipino. Yung oil deregulation law ay pagkonsinti sa ego nitong mga oil companies na walang cap yung kanilang mga presyo. At dapat ma-repeal na tong oil deregulation law na dapat taong bayan ang makikinabang, hindi itong mga oil companies na ito. Kaya naman ng gobyerno ito. Ang tanong nga lamang, paano gagawin ng Kongreso ito kung mismong karamihan ng kongresista ay may-ari po ng gasolinahan?
At nitong linggo po, Kamar, naghain po ng petisyon ang piston sa LTFRB para sa 10 peso increase sa minimum jeepney fare. Ito po ba ay suportado ng Manibela?
Ma'am Pauline, nare-respeto natin yung ating mga kasamahan sa piston pero malayo po ito sa realidad. Yung nga pong piso na in-increase nung Marso, hindi nga po ito in-implement. Yun po pa kayang 10 piso. Siguro ang realistic dito, yung 3 to 5 pesos para naman mabawi yung mga losses kahit na provisional lang siya hanggat makabawi ng ilang buwan yung aming sektor.
At Kamar, magpapatuloy pa rin po ba ang inyong grupo sa pagsasagawa ng mga transport strike sa mga susunod pong linggo?
Opo, Ma'am Pauline, itong susunod namin, itong Mayo 1 na siguro kasi may dalawang pagdinig sa Kongreso na tayo ay re-represent natin itong sektor para nang sa ganon marinig ng buong Kongreso at ng gobyerno kung ano yung mga hinaing at mga solusyon na dapat nilang gawin.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. At was Manibela Chairman Mar Valbuena.
Maraming salamat po.
And in other news, the camp of Leyte Congressman Martin Romualdez is set to challenge the Sandiganbayan's precautionary whole departure order against him. Now, the order comes even as Romualdez has yet to face formal charges. Mobile journalist Amy Atienza has the details.
No formal charges against him yet, but Leyte 1st District Congressman Martin Romualdez is already barred from leaving the Philippines. That's after Sandiganbayan approved the Office of the Ombudsman's request for a precautionary whole departure order or PHDO against the former Speaker of the House. According to the Anti-Graft Court, it found probable cause to believe Romualdez wants to leave the country to evade arrest. Apart from the PHDO, the Sandiganbayan also ordered the Immigration Bureau to include the president's cousin in its whole departure list. Romualdez's camp has acknowledged the recent decision but plans to question it. For now, the lawmaker is staying put.
At the outset, we clarify. Representative Romualdez is in the Philippines and has not left the country. Any report or insinuation that he has fled is false and irresponsible.
Attorney Fajardo went on. Romualdez asked permission to travel out of good faith for the purpose of a long overdue medical checkup. Prior to the travel ban on Romualdez, the House of Representatives approved his travel clearance for Singapore until May 4. The ex-speaker has since addressed corruption allegations against him. In a video message released on the same day, the Office of the Ombudsman announced it is blocking Romualdez's travel plans. In that video, Romualdez mentioned the word executive and command responsibility when he talked about the issue of questionable insertions in the 2025 national budget. Malacanang does not believe Romualdez is alluding to President Bongbong Marcos whatsoever.
Hindi ganun ang tingin ng Pangulo dahil nga po, una po, 2025, nung nakikita niya na mayroong mga anomalya, siya po ang nagpautos na magpaimbestiga. Pag sinabi po nating executive, hindi lamang po ang Pangulo ang nasa executive. Kaya nga po, nagkaroon ng ICI, hindi lamang po nanatili na ad hoc committee ang mag-i-investigate, nag-create ng independent investigating body para po hindi masabing merong kino-cover up, lalong-lalo na pa patungkol sa DPWH. At sa ating po nadinig ni statement ni dating speaker, sinabi po niya na pag-i-implement on the ground. So, kaya nga po siguro sa ngayon, naiimbestigahan din po ang ibang mga naging opisyal ng DPWH.
But are the cousins still staunch allies these days?
How do you define the relationship between the president and the former House Speaker? Are they in speaking terms?
Sa aking pagkakaalam, kung ako'y itatanungin nyo, wala po ako nakitang nag-meet sila, nagkausap sila. Wala po.
Pero paano po natin i-describe yung kanilang relationship? Are they good?
Wala po ako masasabi. Hindi ko po sila nakikita nag-uusap.
Romualdez also believes there are efforts to make him out as mastermind in the budget mess, even the flood control scandal. He has said he won't allow himself to be a scapegoat.
Kung ano po ang nararamdaman ni dating Speaker Martin Romualdez, ay hindi po natin ito saklaw. Kung ang pag-iimbestiga po ay makakatulong mismo ang dating Speaker, mas gugustuhin po yan ng pamahalaan ng Pangulo para managot ang dapat na managot.
Romualdez has also tagged former Senate President Cheese Escudero and former House Appropriations Chair Zaldi Co for their big role in a messy spending bill. Escudero has yet to comment on the allegation. As for Co, said to have been arrested in Prague for trying to cross borders, Philippine officials are on his trail. In a statement, the Justice Department confirmed that its secretary, Frederick Vida, is already en route to Czech Republic. His mission is to open a formal dialogue with their Czech counterparts to explore all available legal avenues for Co's return to the Philippines. These include deportation, extradition, and the invocation of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, to which both the Philippines and Czech Republic are signatories. Kapatid Amy Atienza, we are One News.
The Sandiganbayan 3rd Division continues its hearing on the bail petitions filed by former Senator Bong Revilla and his co-accused over their malversation case involving a ghost flood control project in Pandi, Bulacan. And for the latest, let's bring in our mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Arles, nakatakda bang mag-testify ngayong araw si former Public Works Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo?
Pauline, tama ka, no? Ngayong araw nga ay inaasahan natin na maghaharap na si dating DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo at dating Senador Bong Revilla na kapwa nga implicated, no, dito sa malawakang flood control scandal ng ating pamahalaan. Pero Pauline, sa nakita nating schedule ay alas 2 pa raw ng hapon inaasahan ito si Bernardo o yung afternoon session ng pagdinig ng Sandiganbayan 3rd Division. Kaya ngayong araw, Pauline, ay nakasalang na sa witness stand si dating DPWH NCR Regional Director Gerard Opulencia sa witness stand. Kasi Pauline, kung matatandaan natin, si Opulencia ang sinasabi ni Bernardo na nagbigay umano ng listahan sa kanya para doon sa mga flood control projects na pagkukunan nga umano ng nasa 25 to 30% na kickback ng dating senador na si Revilla. Pero akong magtatanong man yung ipapulin na kung NCR si Opulencia, paano naging konektado yung sa Bulacan, kasama daw ito sa mga prinobseso o trinabaho na hanapan ng proyekto ni Opulencia at nung kasama din ito, no, doon sa mga nag-imporma kay Bernardo na yung 25% umano na kickback ni dating Senador Bong Revilla ay nakakarga na sa sasakyan para ihatid sa tahanan ni Revilla. At least ito yung kasama sa mga testimonya ni Bernardo Pauline nang siya ay humarap doon sa Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing na kung saan nga, no, isa ito sa mga dahilan kung paano sila nasama sa Witness Protection Program ng pamahalaan. Pauline.
Arles, can you walk us back through the highlights of yesterday's hearing dyan sa Sandiganbayan?
Tama ka, Pauline, marami-rami yung mga naging highlight actually ng naging bail hearing kahapon. Kasama na dyan syempre yung pag-amin nga ng dating driver ni dating DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo na si Virgel Nino Garcia, na kung sinasabi niya na hindi lamang siya kay dating Senador Bong Revilla nag-deliver ng pera, kundi
pati sa iba pang mga kasalukuyan at dating opisyal ng pamahalaan at hindi lamang daw ito nakasilid sa mga kahon. No? May mga pagkakataon din daw na nag-deliver siya ng pera na nakalagay sa maleta at nakalagay sa paper bag. No? Kasama dyan sa mga binanggit niya, Pauline, no? Yung pagde-deliver nga ng 3 deliveries kay dating DPWH Secretary Manuel Bonoan na nakatanggap ng nasa 15 kahon. Kinuha ito anya ng staff ni Bonoan sa Diamond Hotel at sa Tomas Morato sa Quezon City. And then isang paper bag at isang maliit na kahon naman ng dineliver kay namayapang DPWH Undersecretary Cathy Cabral na nakita niya umano, no, dinala ito doon sa bahay ni Cabral sa Tawayan, Tatalon, Quezon City at sa Quirino Grandstand. May pagkakataon din na yung driver daw mismo nito yung kumuha ng pera. Bukod dyan, dinawit din ni Garcia Polina si Senator Jinggoy Estrada na aniya ay dineliveran nila ng 12 kahon sa Archaga Building sa San Juan kung saan nakita niya nga raw mismo si Estrada doon sa pinto ng gusali pero isang bongding lasan yung kanyang naging contact dito at ito yung nag-unload mismo ng mga pera nakakahon na naglalaman ng mga pera papasok doon sa gusali. Pero Pauline, paglilinaw ni Garcia, noong una raw na siya ay nagde-deliver mula 2023 hanggang 2025, hindi niya raw talaga alam na pera ang nilalaman ng mga kahon na kanyang i-deliver. Nalaman na lamang daw niya na pera ang laman nito noong kumanta na nga si dating DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo kaugnay ng flood control scam at yung kickback at insertion na scheme nito.
All right, well, thank you very much for that detailed report. That was mobile journalist Arles de los Santos reporting from the Sandiganbayan. And now on to sports. Creamline is back on top of the PVL All-Filipino Conference. The Cool Smashers completed a final sweep of Signal after a 5-set thriller at the Smart Araneta Coliseum. Bernadette Pons led Creamline with 22 points and was named Finals MVP. Tots Carlos sealed the championship with a block on Vanny Gandler in the deciding set. The title marks Creamline's 11th PVL championship and 7th All-Filipino crown. In a world of fast-moving trends and modern digital styles, a Gen Z content creator is going viral for bringing back iconic 90s-inspired poses and nostalgia online. Mobile journalist Daniel Dayo reports.
Suwabe lang ang pose, pero lakas maka-iconic. Kaya naman trending ang isa nating kapatid sa pagbuhay ng mga 90s classic posing.
Nostalgic feels. That's definitely the vibe of Charmaine, a Gen Z content creator, bringing back the classic 90s look through her reels. What started as a fun creative outlet has now turned into a viral sensation.
Fantasy ko lang talaga yung paggayo ko kay Jolina, sa mga artista nung 90s. Parang di ba yung emote-emote ka lang, tapos mapapansin ka na ng mga tao, parang hindi ko rin in-expect talaga. Tapos sasabihin nila mukha daw talaga ako luma. Kaya mas effective daw yung...
Inspired by her parents' old photo albums and pages of 90s magazines, Charmaine recreates the look with intention.
Dito ko parang na-feel yung comfort na dito ako mas nag-grow creatively. Kakagawa ko ng mga 90s. Pag nag-shoot, siguro talaga ang nagdadala shades, accessories, yung outfit din talaga mismo overall. Hanggat maaari, tinatry ko maging accurate, research, nire-recreate ko yung mga nakikita ko sa mga films, magazines.
And with every post striking a familiar note, she shares that titas and titos can't help but react.
Ang dami nag-MMK na mga titos and titas of Manila na parang may naaalala silang certain memory, tapos siguro hindi ko may mapigilang ma-touch pag sinasabi nilang naaalala nila yung parang yumao na nilang relatives or parents.
Even Gen Z viewers are tuning in, finding something new and something old.
Naalala ko po yung my grandparents, may mga photos po sila sa bahay, and then nakikita ko po yung mga outfits nila, which is same lang po sa mga nakikita ko sa bahay.
It also give us nostalgia po. 2000 babies, hindi po natin naranasan yung mga ganun, especially dahil sa technology natin for today's.
With millions of views online, Charmaine now hopes to do one simple thing, to make people feel at home.
Siguro in a way din kasi they felt like home. Sa mundo ng punong-puno ng AI, tapos sa mundong puno din ng mga minimalist. Siguro, yun pa rin yung hinahanap ng mga tao, yung comfort na naibigay before.
Because in a fast-moving world, sometimes all it takes is a simple music and frame to pause and remember the good old times. Kapatid Mobile journalist Daniel Dayaw, we are One News.
And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa. Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time.